I should have left when Daniel locked the office door. Not because he looked dangerous, because he looked relieved. And somehow, that felt worse. It was past 10, and the whole floor had gone quiet in that strange way office buildings do at night. The air conditioner hummed. A printer somewhere in the distance clicked once, then stopped. Outside the windows, the city looked cold and far away, like it didn't belong to us anymore. I was standing by Daniel's desk with my coat half on, holding the folder I'd come to drop off. "That late already?" he asked. His voice was soft, tired, but there was something under it, something I couldn't place. I glanced at the glass doors leading to the elevator. "Yeah, I didn't realize anyone else was still here." He smiled without really smiling. "I usually am." That should have been a normal answer. Daniel stayed late all the time. Everyone knew that. He was the kind of man people describe as calm, dependable, impossible to read. The kind of coworker who remembered your coffee order but never talked about himself. The kind who made you curious without trying. And maybe that was the problem. Because for the last 4 months, I'd been curious. It had started with little things, passing jokes in meetings, shared looks when our manager said something stupid. The way Daniel always seemed to notice when I was having a bad day before I said a word. He never pushed, never flirted openly, but sometimes he'd pause too long when handing me a file. Sometimes his eyes stayed on me a second longer than they should have, just enough to make me wonder, just enough to make me stay. "I was about to make tea," he said. "You want some?" I should have said no. Instead, I said, "Sure." He nodded once and disappeared into the tiny break room near the corner offices. I stood there, alone, suddenly aware of the silence pressing in from every side. The overhead lights had switched to evening mode, dimmer than usual. The shadows between cubicles looked deeper now. I set the folder on his desk. That was when I noticed the photograph. It was tucked half under a stack of papers, like he'd tried not to display it, but hadn't put it away either. A woman was standing beside him on a beach. She was laughing. Daniel wasn't. He was looking at her the way people look at something they're afraid to lose. My stomach tightened. He had never mentioned anyone. Not a girlfriend, not an ex, not a fiancé. Nothing. I told myself it meant nothing. People don't owe their coworkers their personal history. But still, I couldn't stop staring. Then I noticed something else. The woman looked a little like me. Not exactly. Her hair was darker, her face narrower, but there was enough there to make the back of my neck go cold. "Found my secret?" I jumped. Daniel was standing behind me with 2 mugs in his hands. "I didn't mean to snoop," I said too quickly. He set 1 mug down beside me. "You weren't snooping." His eyes dropped to the photo. For the first time since I'd known him, his expression cracked. Just for a second. A shadow. Regret, maybe. Or grief. "Who is she?" I asked before I could stop myself. He was quiet so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, "Someone who thought she knew me." I gave a small laugh, trying to lighten whatever that was. "That sounds ominous." "Maybe it is." There are moments when the room changes and you feel it before you understand it, like some invisible line has been crossed. This was one of those moments. I picked up the tea mostly to have something to do with my hands. It smelled like chamomile. Safe. Normal. But when I took a sip, it had gone lukewarm already. "Daniel," I said, "are you okay?" He looked at me in a way that made my chest tighten. "Emma," he said quietly, "do you ever get the feeling that some nights are mistakes before they even happen?" I should have laughed. I should have grabbed my coat and gone home. Instead, I asked, "What do you mean?" He didn't answer right away. He walked past me and stared out the dark window. "I mean," he said, "have you ever stayed somewhere 1 minute too long and realized later that was the minute everything changed?" I told myself he was just tired, that the late hour was making everything sound heavier than it was, that I was projecting meaning where there wasn't any. But then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. Then I saw the preview message. "If you're with Daniel, leave now." And just like that, the tea in my hand didn't feel warm anymore. For a second, I couldn't breathe. The message sat on my screen like it had always been there, like it had been waiting for me. "If you're with Daniel, leave now." I read it 3 times. Then I looked up. Daniel was still facing the window, one hand in his pocket, the other resting against the glass. He hadn't moved, hadn't asked who texted, hadn't turned around. It felt impossible that he knew, and somehow it felt worse if he didn't. "You good?" he asked. Too calm, too normal. I locked my phone and slid it face down on the desk. "Yeah, just spam." He nodded like he believed me. That was the first truly strange part of the night. Not the text itself. Not even the fact that it came from an unknown number. It was that I didn't leave. I wish I had a better explanation for that. Something intelligent. Something mature. But the truth is ugly and simple. I wanted to know more. About the text. About the photo. About him. Curiosity can make smart people do stupid things, especially when attraction gets involved. Daniel turned back toward me. "You look pale." "I'm fine." "Emma." The way he said my name made it sound like a question. I forced a smile. "Long day." He studied me for a second, then pulled out the chair across from his desk and sat down. "Sit." It wasn't an order, but it also wasn't casual. I sat. The office felt different now, smaller somehow, like the dark windows had sealed us in. "What do people say about me?" he asked. That caught me off guard. "What?" "At work." His fingers traced the rim of his mug. "People talk. I know they do." I shrugged. "The usual stuff." "Which is?" "That you're private, that you never leave, that no one knows what you do on weekends." I tried to smile again. "That you probably have a second life." "Maybe I do." There it was again, that half joke that didn't feel like a joke. I looked toward the elevator doors. "You're in a weird mood tonight." "So are you." He wasn't wrong. My phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't hide it fast enough. Daniel's eyes flicked down to the screen. "He lies when he's scared. Ask about Claire." I grabbed the phone so quickly I almost dropped it. The room went still. Daniel set his mug down very carefully. "Who's texting you?" My throat went dry. "No one." "Emma." "That's not my ex's name," I said before I could stop myself. The words landed badly. We both knew that. Daniel's face changed, not dramatically, but enough. His jaw tightened. His eyes hardened around the edges. "Claire," he said slowly, "is not your ex's name." "No?" "So why did you say it like I should know who that is?" I stood up, pulse racing. "Because someone keeps sending me messages." He rose too. "What messages?" I backed away from the desk. Messages about you. Something flashed across his face then. Not guilt exactly, more like dread, like I had opened the wrong door and he knew what was behind it. Show me. No. Emma, show me the phone. Every instinct in me said, leave. Just leave. Walk to the elevator. Get in the car. Go home and block the number and never come back after dark again. But his tone had shifted, and so had mine. Who is Claire? I asked. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, someone I loved. The honesty of it hit harder than I expected. Is she the woman in the photo? Yes. What happened to her? He swallowed. She left. My phone buzzed again, loud in the silence. He'll say she left. Ask him why her things are still there. I stared at the screen. My hands started shaking. Daniel saw my face, and that's when he stopped pretending to be calm. Emma, he said, stepping toward me, you need to give me that phone, right now. I took one step back, then another. Why? Because whoever's texting you knows your dead girlfriend's name? He froze. The air in the room changed so fast, it felt like a pressure drop. I hadn't meant to say dead, but the way his face drained of color told me I hadn't guessed. I'd hit something real. She's not dead, he said, and somehow that answer scared me more. She's not dead, Daniel repeated. His voice was lower now, controlled, like if he held it steady enough, the rest of him wouldn't crack. I clutched my phone so hard my fingers hurt. Then where is she? I don't know. That's not a real answer. It's the only one I have. We stood there in the dim office, 6 feet apart, staring at each other like strangers. Which, in a way, maybe we were. It's easy to feel close to someone when all you know are their careful parts, the polished parts, the office-safe parts. But real people are never the version you build in your head, and mine was falling apart fast. Claire disappeared? I asked. He looked away. Not good. Daniel. She left one night, he said. No note, no call, nothing. And you just accepted that? I didn't have a choice. Another message came through. He called her 17 times. Then he deleted the voicemails. I stared at it, then at him. How many times did you call her after she left? His eyes snapped to mine. What? How many? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. Jesus, Daniel. He ran a hand over his face. This is exactly why I wanted to see the messages. Wanted to see them? You sound like you already know who sent them. He hesitated, and there it was, another crack. You do know. I have a theory. Then say it. He looked toward the hallway, toward the darkened corridor that led to the executive offices and storage rooms, a place that felt miles away now. Then he said, Claire used to do this. A cold wave moved through me. Do what? Test people. I actually laughed, but there was no humor in it. That is not a normal sentence. I know. She's texting me? Maybe. From an unknown number? While I'm in here with you? After she's been gone how long? 9 months. 9 months. Too long for a prank. Too long for a misunderstanding. Too long for a woman to vanish and still somehow be close enough to interfere. No, I said. No. There's something wrong here. He nodded once. I know. That answer made me furious, because he kept saying things like that, calm, quiet things, as if agreement could replace explanation. I moved toward the door. "I'm leaving." Daniel stepped in front of it, not aggressively, not with force, but enough. My heart slammed once against my ribs. "Move. Listen to me first. Move, Daniel. If you leave right now, she'll keep going." I stared at him. "Who?" He lowered his voice. "Claire." A laugh almost came out of me, a panicked one. "You sound insane." "I know how it sounds." "No, I don't think you do." He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Claire had this thing she used to say, that people don't show you who they are when they're comfortable. They show you when they're uncertain, jealous, afraid. She liked creating situations that forced honesty." My mouth went dry. "Are you telling me she's doing this to me?" "I'm telling you, she may have picked you a while ago." "Picked me for what?" He didn't answer fast enough, and I understood before he said it. "To see if I'd stay," I whispered. He said nothing. That silence was worse than yes. The last 4 months replayed in my head all at once. The glances, the timing, the strange closeness that always seemed to stop just before it became real. Had any of it been spontaneous? Had I wanted him on my own? Or had I been slowly pulled into a pattern someone else designed? Another buzz. "Ask him why he kept my key." I showed him the screen this time. His face went white. "Why would I ask that?" I said, "if it wasn't true?" Daniel's breathing changed. Small thing, but noticeable. "He kept my key?" I said louder. "I never used it." "That's not the point." "I couldn't throw it away." "Why not?" He looked at me then with an expression so raw it almost made me step toward him instead of away. "Because I thought she might come back." That should have made him seem human. Instead, it made the room feel haunted. "Emma," he said, "I need you to tell me exactly when the messages started." I checked my screen. My voice shook as I read. The first one came at 9:47, right after I got off the elevator. He went still. Then he asked, "What time did you get here?" 9:46. He turned toward the hallway again, slowly, like he was finally admitting something he'd been fighting all night. "What?" I asked. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. "There's only one person who would know that." And before I could ask who, something metal clanged in the hallway outside, like a door had just closed. Somewhere inside the office, with us still in it. Neither of us moved. That metal sound echoed once, then disappeared into the building's silence. I could hear my own heartbeat now, fast, high in my throat. "Tell me that was maintenance," I said. Daniel didn't. Instead, he walked to his desk and opened the top drawer with hands that were no longer steady. He took out a key card, his phone, and something else. A small silver key. I knew before he said it. "Claire's apartment key," he murmured. I stared at it. "You still have it with you?" "I told you, I never threw it away." That is deeply not helping right now. He exhaled hard, then shoved the key into his pocket. "Stay close to me." I almost said no on instinct. Then the hallway lights flickered. Just once. It was enough. Daniel opened the office door and stepped out first. I followed, hating that I was following, hating more that I didn't want to be alone. The corridor looked normal. Gray carpet, framed abstract prints, closed office doors, the kind of place that felt harmless during the day and wrong at night. "Where does that hallway lead?" I asked. "Records room, storage, emergency stairs." "And who besides us is supposed to be here?" "No one." "Perfect." My phone buzzed again. "Don't let him take you downstairs." I stopped walking. Daniel noticed. "What?" I held up the screen. His expression turned sharp. "She knows where we are. Or someone does." "It's her." "You keep saying that like it's better." We continued down the hall, slower now. Every few steps I looked behind us. The office floor felt endless after hours. Cubicles on one side, glass-walled conference rooms on the other, reflecting us back in pieces. Two figures moving through a dead building, both pretending not to be afraid. "What was she like?" I asked suddenly. Daniel kept walking. "Why?" "Because apparently she's part of this night whether I like it or not." He was quiet for a moment. "She was brilliant. Funny. Intense." "Intense how?" He gave a humorless smile. "The kind of person who made every room feel charged. You never had to wonder what she was feeling, but you did have to wonder what she'd do with it." I thought of the texts, the timing, the precision. "And you loved that?" "At first." There was a door at the end of the hall with a narrow glass panel, dark beyond it. Daniel stopped outside it. "The records room is through here." My phone lit up again before he touched the handle. "He never told you how we ended. Ask him who was bleeding." I felt all the blood leave my face. "Daniel," he looked at me. "Who was bleeding?" The question hit him like a slap. His whole body locked. For 1 second, I thought he might lie. Instead, he whispered, "Both of us." I took a step back. What the hell happened? He leaned against the wall like the memory had weight. "We had a fight." "People don't both bleed in a normal fight." "I know." "What did you do?" His eyes rose to mine, filled with something worse than anger. Shame. "She broke a glass." "That's not an answer." "She threw it at the wall," he snapped. Then softer. I grabbed her arm. Too hard. She tried to pull away. It got bad fast. The door seemed colder now. "So you hurt her?" "Yes." The honesty should have helped. It didn't. "And she disappeared after that?" 2 days later. I stared at him. This was the twist, the real one. Not a missing girlfriend, not weird texts, not office paranoia. This. The man I'd spent months quietly falling for had once crossed a line he could never uncross. Maybe only once. Maybe not. "How do I know you're telling me the whole truth?" "You don't." He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. And somehow that made it worse, because now I had nothing to push against, just a man standing in a dim hallway admitting with brutal calm that there were parts of him I should be afraid of. My phone buzzed again. Good. Now ask him what he did after he found the earring. I looked up slowly. "What earring?" Daniel shut his eyes. That answer again. Not words, just dread. "Oh my God," I whispered. "What earring?" He opened the records room door. Inside, one light was on. At the very back of the room, on a metal shelf beside stacked archive boxes, sat a single pearl earring, perfectly centered, like someone had placed it there for us to find. And next to it was a second phone, screen glowing, waiting. I didn't want to go inside.
Every instinct in me said, turn around, run for the elevator, smash every button, never look back. But fear has a strange way of becoming gravity. The more terrified you are, the harder it is to look away from the thing causing it. Daniel stepped into the records room first. I stayed near the doorway. The shelves cast long shadows across the floor. File boxes were stacked in neat rows. There was no one there. No sound except the low electrical buzz from the ceiling light and the blood pounding in my ears. The glowing phone on the shelf lit up again. New message. Daniel reached for it. "Don't," I said sharply. He froze. I walked forward, slowly, like the floor might give way under me. The phone wasn't his. Old model, cheap case, no lock screen photo, just a message preview from a blocked number. Play the audio. My stomach dropped. Daniel saw it too. "Emma," he said. "Don't." Why not? His silence was answer enough. I picked up the phone. There was one audio file already open, 11 seconds long. I pressed play. At first, just static. Then Claire's voice, soft, breathless, close to the mic. "If he tells you I was unstable, ask him who kept coming back first." The 4 ended. I looked at Daniel so hard my eyes hurt. "She's alive." "I don't know that. That was not an old voicemail. You don't know when it was recorded." He was right. I hated that he was right. But then another thought landed. If she's been watching us... I turned slowly, scanning the shelves, the corners, the ceiling. "There are no cameras in here," Daniel said.
"That doesn't make me feel better." He moved closer to the shelf and picked up the pearl earring with 2 fingers, like evidence. "She wore these all the time," he said. "You sound nostalgic." "I sound tired." There was something broken in that sentence. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just worn down to the bone. And for the first time all night, I saw the possibility that Daniel wasn't controlling this, that he might be trapped in it too. Then the second phone vibrated in my hand again. Ask him why he went to my apartment 3 weeks ago. I turned to him. "Did you?" His head came up fast. "What?" 3 weeks ago. Did you go to her apartment?" "No." The answer came too quickly. I held up the phone. "That was fast." He looked away. My chest tightened. "Daniel." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I went there once." "Why?" "It was the anniversary of when she left." "That is not a normal reason." "I know." "Did you go inside?" "No." "Did you try?" He didn't answer. "Daniel." "I stood outside for 20 minutes, he said. That's all." "Why?" He gave a short laugh that sounded almost angry. "Because closure is a myth." That line stayed with me, because it was true, and because people who believe that can become dangerous. The second phone buzzed again. Now ask him what he saw in the window. This time I didn't even ask. I just stared until he broke. "There was someone inside," he said quietly. My skin went cold. "Claire?" "I don't know." "You just said you stood outside." "I did." "You also said that was all." "I lied." My voice came out flat. "Cool." He took a step closer. "Emma, listen to me. I thought I saw her silhouette in the window. I went up. I knocked. No one answered. And the landlord came out and told me the place had been empty for months." The room tilted a little. "Then who texted you after that?" I asked. He looked at me sharply. "How do you know someone texted me?" Because suddenly I did know. Because this wasn't starting tonight. It never was. Because that's why you got worse at pretending around me, I said. You were distracted.
restless, looking over your shoulder. I thought you were stressed from work." He said nothing. I kept going. "She started reaching out again, didn't she?" His silence confirmed it. "How long?" "About a month." A month. For a month, he'd been receiving messages from a woman he insisted might not even be alive, and he'd still let me get close to him. That hurt more than I wanted it to. "You used me," I said. "No." "You absolutely did." His face changed. "I didn't mean to." People say that like intention fixes anything. Then the overhead light cut out. Darkness swallowed the room, and from somewhere very close to us, in the black, a woman's voice said, "You both stayed longer than I thought." I screamed. Not loud, not movie perfect, just a sharp, ugly sound I couldn't stop. Something crashed to my left. Daniel swore. Then a flashlight beam snapped on from his phone, shaking across shelves, boxes, dust, metal. "Claire?" he said. No answer. The body swung wildly through the records room, catching empty spaces and paper labels and nothing else. No movement, no figure, no woman standing in the dark. But I had heard her. I knew I had. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Daniel's chest was rising fast. "Yes." "So she's here." "Or someone is." Not helpful. We backed out into the hallway together. The younger lights had come on now, dim and reddish, turning the office into something alien. Every corner felt occupied. My phone. Then Daniel's did too. We looked at each other. Slowly, we each checked our screens. Mine said, "Emma, he still doesn't get it." His said, "You always bring the wrong woman to the edge." I celebrated, truly sick. "She's watching us," I said. Daniel swallowed. "Yes." "From where?" He looked toward the security office near reception. We vocal fast, not running, but close. Past the conference rooms, past the dark cubicles, past the kitchen where the microwave clock still glowed 10:23 like the night had frozen there. I kept expecting a hand to reach out from behind a partition, a voice in my ear, a shape in the glass. When we reached reception, Daniel tried the security office door. Locked. He cursed under his breath. "Can they see the cameras from in there?" I asked. "Yes." "Can we get in?" "Red light." Denied. "Of course," I muttered. Then I noticed something tucked under the keyboard at the front desk. A folded note. I didn't want to touch it. I touched it anyway. In neat handwriting, it said, "If he tells you he loved me, ask him why he sounded relieved when you're vanished." I looked at Daniel. He looked genuinely stunned. "Tell me that isn't true." You hesitated. "Because I'm trying to think." "Then think faster."
He dragged a hand through his hair, pacing once, then stopping. "When Claire disappeared, I was devastated." "But?" He stared at the note in my hand. "But there was also silence." I waited. He said it anyway, and part of me was relieved. There it was, the ugliest truth so far. Not because he wanted her dead, but because he had wanted the chaos to stop. And that kind of honesty is dangerous, because it makes sense. I hated that it made sense. "What kind of relationship was this?" I asked. He laughed bitterly. "The kind people mistake for passion when they're younger." My phone buzzed again. "Ask him what he promised me in this building." I didn't even say it out loud this time. I just showed him. His face emptied. Then he whispered, "No." "What did you promise her?" He backed away from me. "Not here." "Daniel." "Not here." That was when the elevator dinged. We both turned. The door slid open. No one inside. Just an empty elevator car.
and on the floor, placed dead center, was a small velvet ring box. Neither of us spoke, because some objects are louder closed than open. I stepped toward it first. Daniel grabbed my wrist. "Don't." His hand was warm, tight, too tight. I looked down at his fingers around me. He let go immediately. "Sorry." That one word did not erase the feeling of it. I bent and picked up the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, real. And under it, folded small enough to fit beneath the velvet, was a note. I opened it. He never proposed. I bought it myself to see if he'd lie. He did. I looked at Daniel. He didn't deny it. He looked like a man watching old sins return with better timing. "So, what now?" I asked. His voice was hollow. "Now she wants the rest." "The rest of what?" He met my eyes. "The truth about that last night." And before I could respond, the building speakers crackled overhead. Then Claire's voice filled the entire office. "Start with the bathroom, Daniel." The sound of her voice over the speakers changed everything. This wasn't random. It wasn't just messages and planted objects and emotional torture. It was staged, planned, built. Someone had access. Someone knew the building. Someone knew him. Maybe too well. "The bathroom?" I said. Daniel looked like he might be sick. "No." "What happened in the bathroom?" He shook his head once. "I can't." "You don't get to say that anymore." Claire's voice came through the speaker again, calm and almost amused. "You owe her honesty. You always wait too long." I spun slowly, looking for cameras, wires, anything. "Claire, if you're here, stop hiding." No answer. Just the low hiss of dead air. Daniel started walking. Not toward the elevator. Not toward the exit. Toward the back corridor. I followed because at that point, what else was there to do? The night had closed around us hours ago. All we could do now was move through it. The women's bathroom was dark when we entered. Daniel reached for the switch. Nothing. Emergency light only, red and weak. The mirrors looked black. "What happened here?" I asked. He stood near the sinks, staring at his own reflection like it belonged to someone else. Then the said, "She said she was pregnant." The room went silent around us. I felt my body go still. "What?" His voice cracked for the first time all night. "Claire told me she was pregnant. Right here, after work, right before everything got bad." I stared at him. "And was she?" "I don't know." "You don't know?" She admitted later she wasn't sure. That sentence barely made sense. Maybe because none of it did. "What did you say when she told you?" He laughed once, empty. Not the gratitude." "Daniel." "I asked if it was mine." I closed my eyes. There it was. The kind of sentence that can ready a life in one breath. And then, she slapped me. I opened my eyes again. And then, he swallowed ready. "I told her about your she should at least the truth while the did it." That censored but his face of there was more. "And then," I repeated. His eyes were wet now. He didn't wipe them. I said, her, you're, the you're her. Yes. No wonder this night existed. No to haunt. Another clarity crackled. Then Claire again, softer now. And then I hit the sep toward the ceiling. She's alive, I whispered. Daniel didn't answer. Claire continued. I hit the edge so hard I thought I blacked out. There was blood in the basin. He kept's name like that could undo it. Daniel's voice came out ragged. I didn't push you. No, Claire's voice said, but you cornered me. That taking hung in the room like poison. I looked at him. He looked destroyed, and making the something. So that's it? I said. That's the big secret? No, Claire said through the speaker. The word froze me. There's one more part, she continued. Tell her what you found 2 days later, Daniel. He whispered, Please. She ignored him. Tell her what was in the envelope. I looked at him slowly. What envelope? His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Then he said, An ultrasound photo. I felt the room lurch. What? It was slid under my apartment door. No note, just the photo. My voice dropped. Was it real? I don't know. You didn't check? I tried. There was no name, no date I could trace. And you never told anyone? No. Why? His answer came out almost inaudible. Because if it was real, then I had to live with what I said to her. Then the last stall door creaked open on its own, slowly, and from inside, a phone screen lit up with an incoming video call. Caller ID? Claire. I don't know why I answered it. Maybe because by then the night had stripped away every normal reaction. Maybe because fear turns into momentum after a while. Or maybe because when someone spends hours pulling you toward a final truth, you stop wanting safety and start wanting the end. I tapped accept. Claire appeared on screen immediately. Alive, pale, tired, beautiful in a way that had edges now. Dark hair tucked behind one ear, one pearl earring missing. She looked straight into the camera, then straight at me. Hi, Emma. Daniel made a sound beside me, barely human. Claire, he whispered. She ignored him. I'm sorry you got dragged into this, she said to me. You weren't supposed to matter. That hurt more than it should have. What is this? I asked. Why tonight? Why me? Her expression softened for half a second. Because you stayed. I almost laughed from exhaustion. Everybody keeps saying that. Because it matters, she said. Men like Daniel don't reveal themselves when you like them. They reveal themselves when staying becomes uncomfortable. Daniel stepped closer. You've made your point. She finally looked at him. No, she said. Not yet. His face hardened. You disappeared. I survived. That's not an answer. It's the only one you earned. I gripped the phone tighter. Claire, are you pregnant? Daniel turned toward me sharply. Claire's eyes flickered. First time all night she looked uncertain. Then she said, I was. The bathroom seemed to lose all sound. Daniel looked like he'd been punched. What happened? He asked. Her jaw tightened. I lost it. He stared at her. When? A week after I left. His hand braced against the sink. Whether it was his child or not didn't even matter in that second. Pain doesn't ask for paternity before it wrecks people. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. Claire's laugh was small and shattered. Because you already told me what that life would mean to you. No one spoke. Then she looked at me again. You should go home, Emma. After this? No. A strange sadness crossed her face. I thought so. She angled the phone slightly, and for the first time I saw where she was. An apartment. Sparse. Half-packed boxes. A lamp. A window reflecting city lights. Not some hidden surveillance van. Not a basement. Not a fantasy. She had been real all along. Close enough to watch. Far enough to disappear. "Why come back now?" I asked. Claire looked past the camera, then back. "Because I heard he was doing it again." "Doing what?" "Starting with silence, building intimacy through restraint, making a woman feel chosen without saying anything clear enough to be accountable for." Daniel flinched like she'd struck him. And the worst part? A part of me knew exactly what she meant. He never promised me anything. Never touched me, never lied outright. But he had created a space. Warm, charged, unfinished. A place where I did the work of hope myself. That was the game. Maybe not intentionally at first. Maybe not cruelly. But real, all the same. Claire face. "There it is," she said gently. "That's the moment." I hated her for being right. I hated him for making it possible. And I hated myself for still feeling something when I looked at him. Daniel's voice broke. "So this was your shook her head." There shook her what? That damage echoes. She inhaled slowly. "I needed one night where you couldn't look away from what you are in other people's lives." Daniel whispered, "And what am I?" "Claire, someone who mistakes passivity for innocence." That line sat between us like a final verdict. Then she looked back at me. "Leave before that asks you to understand him." And the call ended. Just that. No music, no scream, no fry filed. Only silence. Heavy. Absolute. I looked at Daniel. He looked smaller now. Not safer. Not monstrous. Just painfully, terribly human. Which can be worse. He opened his mouth to speak. I raised a hand. "No." He stopped. I set the phone on the sink between us, like returning evidence. Then I walked out. Past the stalls, past the hallway, past the conference rooms and the reception desk and the elevator I no longer trusted. I took the stairs all 16 floors down, hearing my own footsteps the whole way. Nobody followed me. Outside, the night air felt unreal. My own phone buzzed one last time before I reached my car. Unknown number. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. It was a single message. "He still won't admit he loved being needed." I looked back up at the building. One office light was on. Then it went dark. I blocked the number. I never went back after hours again. Daniel left the company 2 weeks later. No goodbye email, no explanation. Just gone. As for Claire, I sometimes think I see her in crowded places, a train platform, a grocery store, reflected in glass. Always gone when I turn fully. Maybe it's really her. Maybe it's guilt by association. Or maybe some nights don't end when you leave the building. Maybe they follow you home, quiet as a text from a number you don't know, reminding you that the most dangerous people aren't always the ones who chase you. Sometimes they're the ones who let you walk toward them on your own.